Welcome to Nirmala Yoga.
Feel free to come with me down onto the earth to begin. Maybe stretching the arms out, keeping the knees high and swishing a little bit left, a little bit right before maybe extending on out. Maybe you keep the knees high today if that feels a little bit better. Let's take a few deep breaths in. Sigh those breaths out. All the way out. And all the way in. Exhaling and feeling a release in the physical body, with the mind too. As you sink into this practice. And grow into this practice too with those deep breaths in. Getting expansion, opening up a little bit, finding more space. And sinking down with those exhalations. Feeling the outside world drifting further and further away. As you sink into that inner world. As you truly arrive in your practice. Notice what changes have occurred already. Stay with the breath for a few more rounds. Deep breaths in. Maybe you're still sighing them out. Maybe you've got a lot to let go of today. Let go of any tension in the thighs, in the calves, in the feet. Let go of any tension in the torso and the shoulders, the arms and the hands. Release and relax into this first position. Just enjoy this stillness for a few more rounds of breath. Let go of anything and everything not of this moment. Right here, right now. Sink into your practice today. Let everything else go. And let's hold this next breath in. Exhale it out with a little sigh or a big sigh. Let's start to wiggle fingers and toes. Start to circle ankles and wrists. And then start to maybe walk the feet in. Maybe bring one knee into the chest, one at a time, and release. Stay connected to your breath. Maybe we're exhaling, squeezing that knee in, inhaling, releasing hands up to the sky, foot back to the earth. Switching it over for that next breath. Exhaling as you squeeze in, inhaling to open. And maybe we're sliding the arms alongside the body, lifting those hips for a little Setu Bandhasana while we're here. Staying connected to your breath. And maybe it's not quite so high. Or take it down a little bit so that we can add a little wiggle into the hips. A little sway left and right, as long as that's respectful, feels useful, maybe even pleasant, or maybe there's a little bit of discomfort, but we're breathing into it, creating space with that inhale, creating space with the movement. Coming into center and releasing down. Knees coming wide now, toes together as we find our lazy baby. Get nice and long in the spine. Check in with the tailbone. Find a little swish to the tailbone in our lazy baby position. I might go quite deeply into it, almost like you're driving a big bus with a huge wheel, but it's the knees. We're kind of using that rotation to, again, create some space, create some sensations. Coming back to center and then gently letting the feet drop down to the earth. Supta Baddha Konasana. Maybe we're going to take the arms up above, lay them along the earth above the head, reach through those fingertips. Perhaps start to draw the belly in a little bit, drawing in and up on those inhalations. Exhaling to release and relax just a little bit, or maybe a lot, depending on what kind of practice you need today. Get connected to the breath here. Drawing belly button up and in, but that whole midsection is lifting up, allowing the rib cage to come up and away from the pelvis, get longer and longer. Softening, at least around the eyes and around the jaw with the exhalations, but maybe the whole body is releasing down. And then on the next inhalation, we're reaching again, finding activation, finding space. And then exhaling, release a little or a lot, depending. One more breath. Drawing the belly button in, drawing that whole midsection in. And then we'll draw the arms back down alongside the body. Bring those knees in with or without the help of the hands. Find a little swish, swish with the knees once more. And then let's come to that internal rotation, keeping one knee high towards the sky, but letting the other one drop down to the interior. You might be coming all the way onto the instep of that foot, or maybe not so much. Find that right place for you to be. Stay and breathe and feel that nice wrapping around sensation. Press down through that inner thigh towards the earth. The other leg, the foot pressing into the earth, all four corners. Find that right level. Stay connected to the breath. Maybe there's some expansion into the belly. Maybe we're drawing in and up. Find that right breath for you today, but stay connected to it. Keep it conscious. And then switch it over, maybe with a little swish, swish. Maybe even with a little knees to chest, if that feels good. You might give yourself a little massage by moving the knees around a little bit, noticing how that creates sensations onto the back of the body. And then coming to that opposite side when you're ready, one knee coming in and down towards the interior, the other knee's up towards the sky. We're feeling that nice stretch, actively pressing down, but you find that right level for you today. Breathing deep, staying connected to your breath. And is it expansion in the belly? Are you drawing in Uddiyana Bandha a little bit active or a lot active? You find that right level of practice for you today. And then releasing when you're ready. Again, maybe swishing the knees. Maybe bringing those knees in towards the chest. Maybe finding a little bit of free movement with the knees and enjoying the sensations that creates around the lower spine, into the buttocks. And anywhere else you can find something wonderful. And then we're going to take a little roll, either over to one side or come on up. Maybe come back down and back up a couple more times. And then let's get comfortable, sitting back onto the hands a little bit to open into the heart. I'm going to take the fingertips pointing away from the body, step the feet about hip width apart, and maybe come up to get a nice little stretch onto those wrists, perhaps by pushing back a little towards the back of the mat, while still staying nice and open into the front of the shoulders. So you could come up a little bit higher if you wanted to intensify things, Maybe we're just gently finding that right level for us today, a little bit lower down. So make sure, especially if we have issues with the wrist, that we're being careful. Maybe you haven't even lifted those buttocks up off the floor. So always finding that right level for you. And then releasing, buttocks coming down, circling those fingertips forwards and coming up again. Now watch the shoulders don't drop in here. Let's still try and open. And of course, if we're going to stay quite low with the hips, that might mean that we want to walk back a little bit with the hands. Or we're coming in and under and lifting those hips high. And maybe some of you are just still down here, just putting a little bit of extra weight on one and then the other. So you find that right place to be. Come on back down when you're ready. We're going to find a little forward fold, maybe taking the toes in together, knees wide. Or maybe you're going to keep the knees high and drop the head down. So what feels right for you today? Maybe you check in with both and see which is working for you. Let's try and find that extension in the spine, whichever forward fold we've chosen today. Keep the heart coming forwards. Come back into your breath. With those exhalations, how can you soften into the practice a little bit more? What can you let go of? Maybe physically, maybe mentally, maybe emotionally. Allow that release. Allow yourself to just be here in the practice. Coming on up when you're ready. So if we can, we're going to roll up over those toes. And then find our way through to a tabletop position. Or find your way any way that feels right into your tabletop position. Coming towards a little cow, a little cat, maybe a little drop back. Some of you are going to come forwards to tabletop on the next inhale and then exhale it up to a little down dog and alternate between those. So finding your cow, finding your cat, dropping it back a little or a lot, coming back through tabletop and exhaling, tuck the toes and back to down dog. Maybe you'd miss out the down dog option. Maybe you just stay with that beautiful cow and cat and drop back. Let's just get really into each of those poses, whichever ones you've chosen to flow through today. Move really mindfully with the breath. Maybe it's a different pace to me today. So go for a few more rounds of breath. Maybe once more through that range of movements. And then find somewhere to stay. Some of you are going to stay in a down dog. Or maybe some of you are going to come down to earth and stay in a child's pose. Letting the hips sink down fully toward those heels now. Getting nice and long into the torso. Getting connected into your breath. Enjoying some stillness and noticing what changes throughout that breath cycle. With each inhale, with each exhale, what are you letting go of? And then coming up. Some of you are just going to slide one knee forward. So you're going to find a pigeon prep pose. Some of you are maybe in your down dog, or you're going to go through to your down dog. Lift that right leg high, open the hips, and then come forwards to that same pose. Let's make sure the hips are nice and square, even if that means coming up a little bit, rather than rolling down to the side, one side or the other. Then maybe we're going to take a little bit of motion. so that we can feel where is it the longest. Where can I be really long into that back leg? Where can I feel that length all the way through the spine as well? And then for some of you, stillness and down onto the elbows. For some of you, we're going to take a little turn and maybe come over that knee. And if we can, maybe we're coming to the outside of that knee, perhaps even pressing hands together in that prayer position and allowing that to stop us from collapsing down. Push into the hands, open up, create some space for the heart. Find a softness around the eyes, around the jaw. Maybe you have a little smile. Find that right place to be. And then releasing, coming back through that central position. Now we're going to shift onto that buttock and swing that foot all the way around if we can, finding a nice twist in that direction. And for some of you, you're going to come to a little double pigeon pose while you're here and take the twist as well, lifting up through the heart, through the crown of the head. And then releasing. As you do, we're going to take that foot all the way back behind us. And then maybe drop it in a little bit. Either bring the knee back to the knee or come back to your downward facing dog for a few breaths. And then we're going to shift it forwards into our plank pose. Feeling that strength again. Maybe the knees are down. We're just working towards it. Coming down to the earth any way that feels appropriate. Staying nice and strong. And as you do, let's have the option to come to a little Sphinx pose if perhaps this is our first real heart opener of the day. But for those who want to, coming to Cobra pose. Not pressing the hands too much into the earth, using those back muscles as well. And then releasing on down, either stay on the belly or come back to your child's pose. Come back to your breath. Take a beautiful, deep, deep breath in. Fill yourself with that breath. Feel that expansion. Grow into that space. And as you exhale, maybe a sigh. How are you letting go with these exhalations? What are you letting go of? Did you stay here forever? That beautiful sanctuary within. So when you're ready, opposite side. For some of you, that's sliding forwards, the opposite leg now. And for some of us, we're going to be coming through our downward facing dog, lifting left leg high, opening, coming on up to that same position. So we have the opportunity to stay in stillness, to maybe shift a little bit into the hips. Especially if that enables us to become more mindful, to create some space perhaps. So we feel little bits of space opening up as we're here, working with the breath as well as this little movement. And then coming to stillness if you haven't already, and maybe dropping down, straight down towards the earth. Or for some of us, we're going to be coming into our twist. And if we can't get the elbow to the outside of the knee, you could bring it to the inside. If we can't really get this hand position without collapsing down, let's take a little bit more support and find that twist, that forward fold. in a really respectful way, where we can grow into it, where we could stay. Where can you soften? And as we're coming out of it, back into that central position first of all, and then let's drop down onto that buttock, swinging that leg all the way around if we can, and continuing with that twist, either keeping that knee high, or some of you are coming to that double pigeon, that fire log pose. But wherever you are, make sure that you can bring beautiful long spine with you. You can stay deeply connected to your breath. Let it be full. Let it be conscious. What can you find here? It's just right for you. And then releasing. As you do, you're going to take that foot behind again. Maybe we can sweep it all the way behind. Some of you are going to step that knee back and hold that position for a few breaths. And some of us are going to tuck in and come up to our down dog. Come forwards to the plank position. Hold it for a breath or two. Feel that strength as you push the earth away. And we're using legs and glutes and abs, as well as arms and shoulders. Drop the knees or don't as you come down, all the way down to earth. And again, you've got that opportunity to come to a cobra pose. We're coming up a little bit higher this time. Or come back to your Sphinx pose if that works for you today. Maybe you change it up this time by dropping the chin, moving the head a little bit, seeing what else you can add on. Or maybe stillness is what you need. Stillness is what feels right today. Notice how the breath moves you as well. Throughout that whole breath cycle, there's movement. And then slowly, slowly releasing down, letting the head come onto the hands. Taking a beautiful deep breath in. Exhale it out with a sigh. Allow yourself to shut off any tension from the practice, from life in general. Don't get caught up into stories. Come back to the breath. Notice where the body is in contact with the earth. Notice how sensations change as we breathe in deep. And what happens as we let go of that breath? And what else are we letting go of? Stay for as long as feels good. When you're ready, hands in line with the chest. Either push it back to a child's pose or come up for a little down dog. And some of us might even take a little bunny hop into center, taking a ragdoll if you prefer, or taking those peace fingers to the big toes. And then pressing the big toes down into the fingers, into the earth. So check in here, make sure that we've got that flexion coming at the hips. You can be nice and long in the lower spine, all the way through and down to the head, relaxing towards the earth. Hello, baby. Let's stay for a breath or two. And then as we're releasing out a bit, maybe we can bring the hands to the earth. We might need to bend into the knees a little bit to get there. Or else maybe we're holding onto a chair in front. That works too. And we're going to bring one knee up and in. Some of us are going to come and bring it to the outside of the shoulder. And then maybe we're going to take that hand on up. And maybe we're going to take the other one and catch a hold and find a little flamingo pose while we're here. But no right, no wrong. As we're releasing down, we're going to maybe wiggle into the hips a little bit, maybe catch the elbows for a little ragdoll if we haven't had one yet today. Maybe sigh out any tension that we're holding on to. And then when you're ready, opposite side. So maybe we're going to tuck that knee in towards the chest. Maybe we're going to bring it to the outside of that shoulder. Notice the sensations changing as we do that. And maybe we're going to bring that hand up. Maybe we're going to take the other hand to join it for a little bind. And we'll be breathing while we're here. Releasing, coming back down. Don't worry if you missed out on that. We're going to find that same-ish position down on the earth. So maybe we're stepping forwards with the hands coming through for one last vinyasa if it feels good, either coming to the toes or to the knees, coming down and through, any kind of back bend that works for you. And then this time, tucking back up. So if you're in a child's pose, come join us now as we hop it forwards. And find our way down onto the buttocks, keeping one knee into the chest, and maybe stretching out for that opposite foot with both hands, with a strap, with a belt. And then maybe here, we're able to find the bind. Maybe we're able to find a little bit more with this extra support now. So maybe on one foot, we couldn't really find this pose, and now we feel a little closer to it. Maybe we're still very far from it, and that's okay. If that's, none of this is working for you, perhaps you found a little Shasana instead. And then as we release, we're going to just switch over to that opposite side. So maybe we can catch a hold of the foot, check in, make sure that we can lift nice and long. Maybe we're going for that bind. Maybe we find it with this extra support. Maybe we don't. Let's accept whatever it is that we're finding today. And then releasing. As you do, we're going to shift the feet down, the hips down, come on back down to earth. And find a little stretch through those hip flexors once more, coming up to our Setu Bandhasana. Remembering when we did this at the beginning of the session, noticing what's changed. And of course, what stayed the same. Of course, we're still beautifully connected to our conscious breath. Each and every cycle, each and every inhale, each and every exhale. We might drop out of it a little bit and find that little wiggle through the hips. Maybe even some circles in one direction and the other. And then releasing down nice and long in the lower spine, knees coming into chest, rolling it up into your shoulder stand if that's where you're going today. Some of us are just going to have those feet on up to the sky. Maybe the hands too. So you shake it out a little bit. And then bringing those knees in. Extending one leg long. Got two choices for where we want to go. Some of you are going to come straight over into your twist. Some of you are going to come off onto the elbow, perhaps. We're going to catch that leg first before we find that twist. Find a different way into those hip flexors in the front of that left hip if you're catching the left foot. Nice little heart opener while we're here. And then as we release, bringing that knee over, rolling it out into our twist. And then ready for the opposite side. So again, maybe we're going to come up onto the elbow and catch. Maybe we're going to go straight for our twist. So find that right movement for you, that right posture for you. Stay connected to your breath. And then as we release, coming into that twist if we're not there already. And then coming back onto the back of the body, maybe a little swish swish with the knees. Maybe it's that little hug, knees into chest. A little bit of free movement with the knees to create a nice massage around the buttocks and the pelvis and the lower back. Connected into your breath. Maybe sighing things out a little bit. Let's dead bucket, dying bucket, whatever we're calling this one. Let's shake it out for a few breaths before we come to final stillness. That sounds a little bit morbid, doesn't it? So let's shake it out with the hands and the feet high to the sky before we come to our final pose today, Savasana. Maybe we're taking some deep breaths in and exhaling them out. Enjoy the sensations that you're able to create. Enjoy these breaths as you keep them conscious. A way to keep those other thoughts at bay. So come to stillness. Maybe the knees stay high. Coming back to that first position we took today. What has changed? Take a beautiful deep breath in, maybe sigh it out. Allow yourself to settle in and sink down. Into the earth, into yourself. Feel the thighs and the calves and the feet relaxing. The hips and the chest. Notice where you have contact with the earth, back of the head. Create some space, create some length into the back of the body. Grow into that space, and on your exhalations, release. Let go. Let go of any thoughts. Let go of any tension. Feel it melting away. Allow yourself this moment. Notice the thoughts that want to come and steal you away. Don't let them. Come back to your breath. Come back to this moment. Feel that beautiful energy coming in with the inhalation, that expansion, that space. And the exhalations, relax, release, and let go. Down, down, down.
Namaste, beauties. Much love.